All right, so in 2007, I hired a coach. Now, looking at me, you're thinking, oh, because you're built like a professional athlete, right? No, no, no. I did it because I needed accountability. When you're a kid and you're in sports, and you don't know what to do, you need a coach not only because you don't know what to do, but because of accountability. Well, in 2007, I was an adult, believe that or not, and I needed accountability in my life and in my business. In 2007, I always point back to the year I actually grew up and did something with my life because I hired a coach. And that's what we're talking about today on the Pete the Planner show. And to do that, I welcome the author of the new book, Everyone Needs a Coach in Life, Coach Burt. Coach, welcome to the program.
Absolutely. Pete, thank you. And you mentioned the magic words, man. When a person has accountability in their life, it breaks the cycle of starting with good intention, falling off the wagon, and then feeling guilty about it. So I'm glad you did that, man.
Well, so so when we hear the term coach, I mean, it's hard not to think of sports, and you were a sports coach for a long time before you became a coach to non-athletes. Help us understand that background.
I started very early in life at 19 years old at the second largest high school in Tennessee, so I found my voice very early. And one of the things that made me really unique was I was going over to the business world, studying the best businesses, and then bringing those concepts back and actually teaching 14 to 18-year-olds principles like the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Good to Great, 5 Dysfunctions of Teams, and I was really inner engineering people to win. Around 25, I started writing books on how we were winning at such high levels, and that really led me out to corporate America where people wanted me to speak to their teams.
So I love that. So it seems like to me you are one of those guys who, although you may not have been a particular student's coach, everyone called you coach because you sort of had that feel to you that you were coaching them through their life, even as a high school student.
Yeah, I think that the reason we need a coach in our life is because we can't see the picture when we're inside the frame. We can't stir the pot when we're inside the bowl. We really need the help of another person to drive that kinetic energy that's in us who can find and fill our missing structures for us.
I know this is really weird, but I was doing a webinar this morning about budgeting. And I was talking about how important budgeting meetings with a significant other is based on accountability alone. It's that, the habits that we exhibit, we can't actually see them. And a significant other, as painful as it may be, is pretty good at pointing out our shortcomings. How is a person, in your idea and estimation, who doesn't get a lot of feedback, how are they supposed to get any feedback at all since they can't see within themselves?
Well, I think a person has to reach outside of themselves. I think Maya Angelou said, when we know better, we do better. I disagree fundamentally with most people that call themselves coaches because coaching to me is not asking you questions, Pete, and letting you come to the conclusions. Coaching is engaging you in a set of systematic behaviors that allows you to do something tomorrow that you cannot do today. And I tell people I'm coaching, if you could get there on your own, you wouldn't need me. And so I'm going to contract and I'm going to speed up that process of acceleration by looking at your life and business. I want to find your missing structures, and I'm going to give you a process on how to elevate.
Yeah, so it's funny you bring up where coaching goes wrong, and I think it's important we talk about this. I think sometimes, and I guess even in psychiatry, I mean, you get to this idea of asking these open-ended questions, people arrive at their own stuff, and you sort of led people to their own enlightenment. But what you're saying is, no, this is a pretty action-oriented process in which we establish the plan, and then it's your job to get on people until the plan is executed.
Yeah, I think there's models out there that definitely work where people can come to their own conclusion and look back in their past. But to me, coaching is not therapy. Coaching is, I have a dominant focus. I would like to drive in a certain time period, and I need the help of another person to accelerate that process because that coach has the systems, has the methodology, has the process. They've most likely shown a demonstrated capacity to get other people to some high level of achievement. So that's why we need that coach in our lives.
How important is the plan itself? Because people are always like, well, you need a plan, but coach, what if the plan stinks and you're trying to expertly execute a bad plan? How do you even begin to evaluate? How does someone like you begin to evaluate the quality of the plan itself?
Well, I think you're right. I think the strategy is critical. But most people are having some level of success. I mean, there's people that don't know what to do and just need a basic strategy. But most of the people I coach are earning between $100,000 and $5 million a year. They've been in a very dynamic place in their life at some point. They've reached a static state, and they've hit a ceiling of complexity. They can't break through that. They want more of something, more time, more energy, more money, more freedom, more confidence, more structure, more impact. And they tell us a good plastic surgeon never makes more than 2.2 millimeters of change, and they never make more than 7 changes. And so typically the strategy at that point is not about working harder. It's actually just about looking at the strategy and making some small tweaks to help them get to the next level.
People that hear about professional coaching, and I mean, even sort of transitioning into life coaching, it can be an awkward, off-putting idea. I mean, what do you say to those folks? And first of all, where do professional coaching and life coaching intersect, or do they?
Well, I was a huge disciple of Covey. My story of origin was at 18 years old. One of my favorite coaches really told me, if you don't read another book this year, read The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Dr. Covey was big on the whole person, which meant that every person is made up of 4 parts: a body, a mind, a heart, a spirit. That produced 4 different intelligences, 4 different capacities. And I brought that with me. I picked that up and I brought it with me. And I said, as long as I'm a coach, whether in athletic or business, I'm going to coach the whole person. And integrated means whole. So to me, some people consider me their life coach. Some people consider me their business coach. But for most people, I'm their coach. I help them build, maintain, and protect their confidence. I give them the business structures they need. And so I fought that for a long time, that life part. Well, you're a life coach. And I said, I'm not a life coach. I'm a business and entrepreneurial coach. But a lot of my top clients said, what you help me with sometimes is my life, man. I just want you to accept it. So I've kind of embraced that we can cross over into both arenas because it's all part of one whole life.
Yeah, I got to think in general when people look at the habits. I mean, you talk about the habits of highly effective people, the habits that drive entrepreneurs on a daily basis. You know, the old, we're talking like waking up early, responding to communications. I mean, are there a set of sort of rules to live by that you help people execute on a regular basis that people watching now can begin to execute on?
Well, most of the people that come to me because they want to elevate their sales. And that's a natural place that people want to grow. They want to make more money. They want to drive more revenue. And so I start looking at missing structures. And a missing structure is just a void or a gap or hole. So what I go to work on is, A, how do we help them explain their services? We call that the explanation of services. 2, we help them work a selling system to drive more qualified leads so they've got more opportunity coming in the door. 3, we teach them how to follow up appropriately to get people off the fence. And 4, we go to work on the experience that they create to drive referability. Those are 4 common missing structures most salespeople have. But when it comes to personal life, you know, I think when you look at body, mind, heart, spirit, you're looking at every day we're doing something for the body, every day we're doing something for the mind, every day we're doing something for the heart, and every day we're doing something for the spirit. If I can get you in a rhythm of focusing on those 4 dimensions, your life is going to get to a better place than it is.
You know, I think in some capacity, most people at some area in their life have been in the zone, right? And it's just where you can't miss, right? I've never actually experienced that on the athletic field, but I hear it's great. I've tried. So I wonder, Coach, or what you're describing then essentially is you're trying to get people in the zone, not where it's effortless, because there's always going to be effort involved, but where difficult processes feel effortless.
Yeah, I think, you know, the flow, the zone, we see people get there in different places of their life to where things are just clicking on every cylinder that you've got, and you feel good. We all have areas of our life that we're out of control. We're out of control with our budget. We're out of control with our health. We're out of control with spending. We're out of control with drinking. We're out of control with something. But if I can get you to where every part of your life, one of my top clients once told me, said, when you make a decision to be great, when you make a decision to get motivated, many times that carries over to all parts of your life. And if you can get them clicking on every cylinder you have, then I think you're going to get that flow state. There's going to be moments of flow. It's not going to be a continuous state, but you're going to peak up, just like an entertainer peaks up for those 2 hours. And so you rest, you practice, you perform. And if you get in that rhythm, I rest, I practice, I perform. And when I am performing, I try to get in that peak state of that flow that you're talking about.
How important to you are metrics in relation to a person trying to create change? You know, I think about what we do here and how important metrics are, but just in general with trying to drive change within your organization or just your life in general, how important are metrics to you?
It's very important, and I force every person that I'm coaching to give me their dominant focus, That's typically a tangible, quantitative outcome they would like to drive in a certain period of time. I do recognize that there's intangibles. There's qualitative things we can measure: trust, chemistry, buy-in, all of those things, energy. But really, I'm trying to get you to a much better place. And to do that, I got to know where we're going. Just like a coach has a championship to win every year, I got to have something I can measure, I can track, I can recalibrate against, and I know if we're winning or losing.
I often think about some of the great coaches in the world, and you think their energy has to, at times, fill in for the energy that is lost on the field of battle, right? And so I got to think, you seem like a very energetic guy. What role does you transferring your energy to your clients? What role does that play?
Well, I do think some people are paying for energy. I think when you look up the word power, if you're going to become a person of power and influence, one of the definitions of power is a means or source for supplying energy. And there is an exchange of energy between me and my coaching clients. They don't always come with batteries included. They don't always come ready to go. They don't always show up in that mindset. And in my big coaching programs, I want energy, and that's good, but that's the cost of doing business with me. What I really want is energy plus methodology plus a demonstrated capacity to get you to some quantifiable results. But the energy piece is, I think when you look at great teams, their coaches have great energy.
Yeah, I keep hearing a few operative words here. I keep hearing systems, systems, and more systems. At what point do people begin to get paralyzed with system overload, or do you believe there's no such thing as systems overload?
Well, it's odd about my personality. I'm a quantity over quality guy first. I say volume, 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 and you're going to get better through recalibration. But my coaching background, when you come from the athletic world, we charted everything. And everything we did was very systematic in how we tried to win. We scouted opponents. We broke down how they played. We showed probability on plays that we were going to run. And I got into the business world, and I started coaching business people. And I would say, show me how you get customers. Show me how you follow up. Show me how you convert a current client to a promoter or advocate. And nobody knew. They said, well, here's how we do it, but nobody really knew. And some of these places were billion-dollar companies. So I try to bring some of that structure to the equation and combine that structure methodology with the energy. Because if you don't buy into your coach, let's face it, we've all had a coach that seemed bored or stuck or in a rut themselves. You can't give away what you don't possess. And so I tell people, you got to have an affinity with the person that's coaching you. And if you're buying into the energy, buy into the energy. But you got to buy into something if you're gonna walk the talk.
You mentioned a few minutes ago this concept of explanation of services and how important that is in the process. For the business owners out there watching, or the salespeople out here watching, how can people get better at explaining what they're selling or what they're offering? I know that seems really simple, but having done this for a while, having a business for a decade or more, it's actually pretty hard to come up with how to explain exactly what you do in a succinct way.
It's actually one of the most complex things that people never spend any time on. We teach a concept called explanation of services that is a framework. First, tell me what you believe versus what it is you do. We don't think people care what you do. Okay, so first tell me what it is you believe. Second, tell me why you believe it. Give me a chance to believe it too. Third, tell me what it is you really do. Break it down and reduce it to the ridiculous. Fourth, tell me how you do it different than everybody else you're competing against. Fifth, give me some social proof. Tell me who you've done it for, so I know that you're legitimate and the real deal. And sixth, ask me this hard question. If I could do this for you, just like I've done it for all these other people, what would stop us from taking action today? What would prohibit you from moving forward? Have you seen enough to make a decision? Now, this is very different than an elevator pitch. This is a framework, so I could put you in any room, on any phone call, on any commercial, on any interview, and you could go through that rhythm. And that's how we teach people to explain their services. Now, how does that work? It increases their close ratios. Their confidence goes through the roof. We believe having something to say is just as valuable as having somebody to say it to.
All right, so it's hard for me not to think about both reps and rhythm in relation to shooting free throws. When you're a high school basketball player or a college basketball player or wherever, Little League, that's so important, right? Because it builds confidence, it builds comfort, and that cadence you just went through. Obviously, you went through it quick because you're used to it, but that's how natural I think it probably begins when people get that frequency and those at-bats up.
The reason, in sports world, we called it muscle memory. And muscle memory was where you practice something so many times that in a game you could just automatically do it. It was very natural. Most people never practice their explanation of services. The reason they need to make X number of phone calls per day is not because they're going to close people. I know it is a game of probability. But the real reason they need to make the phone calls is to get better, to learn to recalibrate, to fail and be rejected and improve. So I give my explanation of services very quickly because I've practiced it hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. But most people we start coaching haven't even practiced it once. So just like you take 500 shots a day to be able to shoot 60% from the field, people out there need to practice that much to get that kind of volume. Quantity opens the door to quality in any world, in my opinion.
And you talked about elevator pitch, which is sort of the classic way to succinctly, in 30 seconds or less, maybe 15 seconds, say what you do. With explanation of services, what is the actual time frame of which someone should be able to expertly deliver that?
Well, the explanation of services is a framework, but I don't dump it on a person all at one time. If I'm on an airplane and they see my championship ring, they always ask, is that a Super Bowl ring? And I always go, do I look like I play in the NFL? I mean, I'm 5'6", and I kind of joke with them. And I go, before I tell you what I do, let me back up and tell you what I believe. I believe everybody needs a good coach in life. I believe you can't see the picture when you're inside the frame. I believe people that have coaches earn 3 and 4 times the amount of money as anybody else. And I just look at them and say, have you ever had a good coach? And that kind of opens the door to know within typically 15 to 20 seconds if I'm in agreement with them. See, here's the belief. People do business with other people that believe the same things they do. So when I come out of the gate with what I believe versus what I do, I'm really making an assessment if you and I believe the same things. And if we do, let's keep going. And if we don't, it's okay. 7 billion people on the planet. Some will, some won't. So what? We just keep moving.
So how quick are you to then, truly, I got no problem with this. How quickly are you to shut down a prospecting conversation when it's quite clear that you don't agree on the most basic level? Do you just sort of abandon ship and clean up the conversation and then move on, or how do you deal with that?
Yeah, I tell people, would you rather know in the first 15 seconds, or would you rather chase someone for 15 months? And I know in the first 15 seconds, when I'm speaking anywhere in the world and I say I believe everybody needs a good coach in life, how many of you have ever had a good coach? The people that immediately raise their hand, the people that immediately indicate interest, the body language says those are prospects. Those are the people most likely to buy my books. They're most likely to be in my coaching programs. The people who've never had a good coach, don't believe in coaching. You know, you made a fundamental decision in 2007 to hire a coach. That got you an elevation. So something told you, I think another person can get me there. I've reached the ceiling. So you and I are in agreement. You know the power of a good coach in your life. And so, but if you didn't believe that, I could spend the next 15 months trying to convince you to believe it. Or I could just say, Pete doesn't believe the same things I do. Doesn't make him wrong and me right. We just don't line up on what we believe, so let me move on to the next person.
What is the reluctance to believe in coaching? And it's funny even to use the word believe, Coach. It's like what is the reluctance to acknowledging the role coaching could play in your life? Because I know that is a blind spot for a lot of business people.
Has a lot to do with the past. I think people have had bad coaches that yelled and cussed and kicked things and threw things, and they believe a coach to some extent will expose weakness in them, and they will. A good coach won't let you hide from things that are prohibiting you from going to the next level. So pride, insecurity, fear, don't want a person to see behind the scenes. You don't want to be vulnerable to a coach. All of these reasons prohibit, and here's the biggest reason, complacency. We see people that are earning a couple $100,000 a year. They're completely happy. They work the amount they want to make. They make the amount. They got the perfect family. Why would I want to exert all the energy a coach is going to make me do? I know when I hire personal trainers, I know they're going to push me to do things I don't want to do. They're going to do all these things that maybe I don't want. So I could just work out on my own. I could get on a treadmill. I could go for a walk. I could ride a bicycle and not have to exert that much energy. I think a lot of people are afraid of what a good coach will push them to do.
I know within your coaching platform, you have a system in which you encourage folks, when you're dealing with a prospect, what you call like the 7-touch technique or something to the effect of, you want someone following up with a prospect 7 different times to get that commitment to take action. Help us understand that, because I got to think at the very elementary level, that seems like a lot of touches, especially when maybe you're not getting a response from a client or a prospect. It may feel like you're shouting into an abyss. Help us understand that.
Well, go back to what I said a few minutes ago. I make up my mind in the first 15 seconds if I'm going to pursue you or not. And if I'm going to pursue, now the competitiveness starts coming out in me because I know, look, I think Pete and I believe the same things. I think I can help him with my services. He indicated interest in my services. Statistics show me 7 to 15 touches 80% of the time to convert a prospect to a buyer. It's not because he doesn't want what I've got. It's because he's in the current of the urgent. He's moving fast. He's overloaded with information. So when I come back and touch him 7 different ways, and I teach my people to challenge the prospect. So I say things like, Pete, you told me exactly what you wanted and I brought it to you. What's prohibiting you from taking action? Pete, I believe every day we don't take action, we lose 10% of momentum. I mean, I think about financial advisors that I coach. Biggest challenge is the amount of information they get. It's information overload. They don't know what to do, so the prospect sits on the fence. They don't take action. A good person in financial services would come back and say, look, every day we don't take action, we're losing momentum. You know, you're losing the forward momentum of money. You come to me for a reason, I told you what you needed to do, but you won't take action on it. And so if you give a little push, just a little creative tension, then that will help a person get off the fence. But if I believe there's potential there, I go 7 touches, you know. I mean, that's just, I'm going to go the 7 touches, and on touch number 7, I'm going to say, Pete, have you noticed how hard I've worked to earn your business? Has anybody else worked this hard? And you say no, and I say, well, what's stopping you from taking action? Have you seen enough to make a decision? We're losing momentum right now while we're talking about this.
Yeah, I've always heard and believed, frankly, that if a sale doesn't take place, then there's only 2 reasons. It's because the prospect wasn't qualified in the first place, and that's on you, or you didn't follow the sales process, also on you. Where do you line up on that?
Well, money only changes hands when problems are solved. The bigger the problem, the more money people pay to solve it. But the reality is there's a number of decisions that people are vacillating on back and forth, from go, I'm interested, to delete you. You know, and that's happening in a day-to-day basis. What I wanted yesterday, I may not want today. So to get a person, what you're really competing for is their time and their attention, and to stay in their face and to be a solution to their problem. And the purpose of the follow-up is to rekindle the initial attraction to your product or service that solved their problem.
I know we're talking about sales and business, but it's hard not to think of other areas of your life that aren't career-related as we talk about this. Fitness, finances, faith, I mean, not all the F's apparently, but family, I guess there's another F. I mean, Coach, it seems like, sure, at some time we're talking sales, but this really applies to following through on what your desires are in all aspects of your life.
Yeah, there's a difference between being inspired, where an idea has a hold of you and tries to get you to take action, and being motivated, where you have a hold of an idea and you see that idea through to its logical conclusion. So you need to follow up on your dreams. You need to follow up on your faith. You need to follow up in your family. I mean, all of these things are part of living a monster life. It's not just in one area of your life. I don't believe success in one role can justify failure in another. I mean, I think what people are looking for, minus the word balance that people think are out there, is living their totality of their life to the maximum. And I have coaches in all areas you mentioned. You know, so to me, I'm trying to squeeze out my kinetic energy, my potential. I'm trying to live this monster life. I'm having to have the biggest impact I can on planet Earth. And I don't know what your agreement with the planet is or what anybody's is, but for most people tell me, I'm interested in my potential, Coach. I just don't know how to get it out of me.
I've always sort of boiled it down, this is what I believe personally, if you want an extraordinary life, it kind of takes extraordinary effort. Like, you can't expect an extraordinary life doing pedestrian things. And so that always sort of drives me, the idea that, you know what, if you want something extraordinary, you're going to have to put in more than just what seems like what everyone else is doing.
Well, you know, my wife, before we were married, had never had a good coach in her life. She grew up in a small town in Tennessee. She wandered into one of my workshops, and I tell people that she fell in love with her potential, and I fell in love with her. And you know, but she read my book. This was 9 books ago, and she said, you know, I never had a great coach. I always knew there was a bigger world for me. I never knew that. And she started to dig into her potential. She quit the dead-end job she was in. She started her own catering company. She got involved in interior design. Hey, and she picked up me, Pete, in the process. So that was a pretty good catch, right? And but here's the point. She would tell you to this day, her walking into that workshop changed her whole life. And she had no idea until she got involved with the coach. So I think there's a lot of people out there that they can't do better because they don't know better. They don't put themselves in a position to prosper. They don't get around people thinking bigger than them, and they don't have a person in their life kind of nudging and pushing them toward what they are capable of doing.
Something tells me you started this whole coaching platform for the one moment to be able to pick up your wife at a workshop. Is there any truth to that, or was it just a byproduct?
I wish I could say I had planned it out that well, but no. I just started the coaching because that's who I am, and luckily I got the wife and a 4-year-old daughter in the process.
So tell us about your new book, Everyone Needs a Coach in Life. Is it available yet? If so, where can people get it, and what will people take away from it?
Yeah, the book is available now. It's been out a few weeks. It was an Amazon bestseller, so we are pushing copies out there, and I do believe everybody needs a coach in life. It's the very best of what I teach people. I think people are in one of 3 states. They're dynamic and growing, they're static and plateaued, or they're entropic. Our life is like that, and the common central theme there is energy. So if you are in one of those states, you're dynamic and you want to grow, or you're static and stuck in a rut, you want to bust through that ceiling, or you're in a downward spiral, this book is going to be great for you, personally or on the business side, to help you stay in an engaged, dynamic state. It's going to walk you through this $1 million machine that we've created on how to really build your business, to grow you, to scale you up, which is the problem most small business owners face. How do you get bigger than you? And the book's going to show you how to do that step by step.
Well, excellent. Well, I encourage people to go to CoachBurt.com. That's Coach B-U-R-T, to check out the book and get it at Amazon.com to keep it up there, the Amazon bestsellers. Coach, I have to admit, I feel a bit pumped up. Like when we finish our discussion here, I've got some tasks that I need to get done yet today. I have to admit, I'm feeling a little bit more motivated than normal to get them done. So I thank you for that, and I thanks for all the time you spent with us today.
Yeah, hey, the invoice is in the mail, Pete. Thank you, man.
You're like my attorney all of a sudden.
No, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. I'm a big fan of your work, big fan of your writings and podcasts, so just honored to be with you, man.
Thanks so much. And so that's it this week for the Pete the Planner Show. Good coach, it matters. It mattered for me 10 years into it. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to check out Everyone Needs a Coach in Life, and you should too. Until next time, I'm Pete the Planner. This is Pete the Planner Show.